Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back here for my weekly episode predictions for this week's up-and-coming episode of The Walking Dead, which is Season 7, Episode 3, entitled The Cell. Now, of course, my predictions will contain spoilers for previous episodes of The Walking Dead, so if you guys are not caught up to Season 7, Episode 2, entitled The Well, very similar title name to the next episode, which is The Cell, obviously, don't watch this video. It's predictions for the next episode. You know what I mean? It goes without saying. But with that being said, everybody, we do actually have a promo and a sneak peek to go over, as well as a synopsis. So as always, we're going to go over the synopsis first. The synopsis for Season 7, Episode 3, entitled The Cell, is this. We're introduced to a completely new group of survivors living in an impressive community that seems to have it all for a price. Now, this synopsis right off the bat, we can, without even looking at the promo or the sneak peek, we can automatically assume that this community that this synopsis is talking about is Negan's community, you know, Sanctuary, right? So the Savior's compound, if you will. So we're introduced to a completely new group of survivors. Maybe not completely new. You know, we've obviously heard of Saviors and everything like that before, but we really haven't got to experience, you know, how they lived, you know, from their perspective. It's always been them versus our core group, being Rick, the Hilltop, you know, Kingdom, stuff like that. But now this episode, I think, is mainly going to focus on the Sanctuary, or whatever they're going to call it. It's called Sanctuary in the comic books, but I don't know, maybe they're just the compound. I'm not really sure what they're going to call it there, but that's definitely interesting to note if we do find out. So we will obviously note that in my episode review. So it's that new group of survivors living in an impressive community that seems to have it all, but only for a price, which means you obviously have to provide them half your shit, get them food if you want to live with them, you know, stuff like that. Or if you just want to obey Negan's orders, you know what I mean? And of course we do know that he has, well, in the comic books at least, and so far we're led to believe that he has a ton of wives that have basically abandoned their husbands to live with him, you know, live with him as his wife. And, you know, if they disobey him after that, they get punished ultimately, right? So the reason why most of the wives left their husbands was because it was going to be an easier life for them, all right? That was mainly the reason that a lot of their wives left their husbands for Negan. Wasn't because of personal reasons. Obviously, they still love their normal husbands, but in this new world, it's going to be a lot safer for them. You know, that's what they think at least. So that's what we can assume the price means. Not just necessarily the women, but obviously the men have to live with their wife going to Negan, and then the men obviously have to, even if they don't have a wife, they obviously have to provide them food and just, you know, kill anybody that he wants killed, basically, on any given moment. You know, get food from other communities, threaten people, and, you know, stuff like that. So that's what we can assume the price means. Okay, so digging into the promo, we can really see that the promo is mostly about Dwight and Daryl and their sort of experience with that new compound that we're talking about, right? Again, we don't really know what it's going to be called. The Savior's Compound, Sanctuary, who knows, right? Who knows? We don't know. Anyway, it seems to me, you know, at a second glance at it, it kind of seems to me like Dwight is sort of taking Daryl under his shoulder. You know what I mean? He's at some points during the episode like shoving Daryl and making him look outside the fence at some walkers there. Obviously, we know that their Sanctuary in the comic book is basically built with like fencing, and then outside of that fencing, they basically have a wall of walkers, you know, put on spikes and stuff like that. Very smart idea. And, you know, obviously we've seen that be used sort of, you know, implemented in Rick's prison back in season 4 when he had those spikes, you know, sort of set up by the gate. They really didn't prop zombies up there to do that, but obviously the zombies would eventually run into them. So it's something similar that we've seen before, but it's literally, they're literally propping the zombies, or the walkers in this case, up on those pikes and basically using them as protection, using them as a wall to fend off attackers and, you know, stuff like that would maybe want to get at them. Very smart idea again, okay? Very smart idea. Now, fittingly enough, they have all of the prisoners, which is what Daryl is right now, basically dressed in some sort of a burlap, you know, sort of shirt outfit thing that they got going on, and they have them marked with a letter, okay? And fittingly enough, Daryl and his group are always marked with an A of some sort. We've seen this multiple times, mostly hitting back to Terminus, you know, when their train car was marked with an A. We always see the significance of this A, but we really don't know what it really means, you know what I mean? We see this A appear everywhere, I guess, but we don't know the significance of it, would be a better way to put it. But With that being said, Daryl is marked with an A on his shirt again, and we see other guys off in the distance outside of the wall dealing with those zombies on those pikes and stuff like that. Maybe looking like they're feeding them. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but they're basically on some sort of a duty. You know, they have a job to do. And we can assume that Daryl is probably going to have to do that job as well, seeing as though he's dressed up in pretty much the exact same outfits, just marked a different letter. You know what I mean? Just marked a different letter. So that's another significant thing that we can point out to why this episode is entitled The Cell, is because Daryl is going to be a prisoner there. You know, they obviously took Daryl back in episode 1 at the end of it, and Negan just wanted him. He took him, right? He just took him and threatened to use him as collateral, I guess, if Rick tried to, do anything. Now, all throughout this promo, we get certain looks from Dwight, which kind of lead me to believe that he's starting to turn on Negan. Not so much... I don't even know it's like a subtle turn, you know what I mean? Like, we get these quick looks and quick glances and stuff like that lead us to believe that he's not really completely on board with Negan. And we can also assume that that's probably the case, because he actually was running from Negan back in season 6. I believe it was episode 6 at the time when we first met Dwight, when he ran into Daryl in the woods. He was actually running from Negan. That's what he was, and he didn't have the burn back then on the side of his face. And then when he finally got captured back by Negan, that's when the punishment, obviously happened, and he got burned on the side of his face, right? Just like the comic book. Same thing. He basically tried to take his wife back from Negan, and obviously suffered the punishment. Now, these quick looks and glances from Dwight that I'm talking about, two of them really come to mind here when he's really looking at the prisoners doing their jobs outside the walls. With the zombies, he sort of has like a... Hello?
Hello?
Hey.
What are you doing?
I'm just doing a video right now.
Why?
Cause...
Why are you doing a video?
Walk into predictions.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get the views, so I kind of ask myself that question all the time.
Yeah, so why don't you just get on Modern Warfare and just...
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm almost done, so...
Fucking cut me off while you're at it. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be on soon.
Yep.
Love you.
Okay.
Bye. When he's watching the prisoners that are marked with a letter doing their thing in like the front courtyard area with the walker wall, he sort of has this glance on him that seems to say, like, this is fucked up, type of thing, right? Like, this is not right, this is messed up, sort of thing. This is the vibe that I get from that look. All right, now I don't know, could just be me, could just be a normal look, I don't know, no idea, but that's the vibe that I sort of seem to get. Okay, and there's another part in it as well. When Negan says, you don't scare easy, I like that, assumingly talking to Daryl, and then it cuts to a shot of him walking by Saviors along with Dwight there, and they all actually have to kneel down on one knee, and they all put their heads down like this, and as he walks by, you know what I mean? And as he walks by, as soon as he passes Dwight quickly looks like this, and is just like, you motherfucker, something like that. But he obviously didn't say that. He didn't mouth it or anything like that. He just sort of looked at him with his eyes in a way to say, like, I don't agree with you. I hate you, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I despise you, sort of thing. That's the look that I got from Dwight, okay? And this is all good news, because as we know in the comic books, again, spoilers, Dwight does eventually, in the comic books at least, not to say this happens in the TV show, because I have no idea, I haven't seen it yet, no one has, Dwight actually does turn against Negan, okay, and basically end up helping Rick out and stuff like that. Now, whether or not that will happen in the TV show, it seems like it might, because he's starting to have those looks, like I said, that he just looks to his left, stuff like that. And it really seems like he's trying to help Daryl. He's trying to help Daryl survive there as well. Because there's a scene in this promo where he's basically walking right behind Daryl, and I believe Daryl might be chained up or tied up or something like that with rope. Anyway, he's walking like a prisoner, right? And he's walking right behind Daryl, and as Negan walks by, Dwight gets down on one knee and Daryl doesn't. But just as Negan walks by, Dwight basically pulls Daryl down onto one knee, and that maybe saved his life, you know what I mean? We have no idea how if Negan really takes that completely seriously or not. We don't know yet, you know what I mean? We really haven't experienced too much of Negan as of yet. Only really one episode and the end of the season finale of season 6. And with those 2 episodes being said, all we really got to see was a pretty badass side of Negan. We didn't really see how he really worked in his own community, you know, with his own people. We sort of just seen him deal with the people that he's trying to threaten and trying to get to work for him, that being Rick and his group. And then at the end of the promo, we actually get to see something that was said in the Comic-Con trailer for Season 7 of The Walking Dead, which was a girl, we don't know who it is, but it looks like she's in Sanctuary, maybe talking to Daryl and saying, you should get out while you can, because no matter what he's done to you, there's always more. And that's where the promo ends right there. So those are some obviously core things that I'm looking forward to. You know, things in that promo, like maybe Dwight turning on Negan. I don't think it's going to completely happen this episode, but to see those signs and the beginning of that would be pretty cool, because we really didn't get to see that in the comic book. We didn't really get to see Dwight developing a hatred for Negan. I think he's always hated Negan. There's no really hiding that, but we didn't really get to see him starting to turn on him. You know what I mean? He just sort of arrived at the kingdom one day and was like, yo, what's up? I'm willing to help, you know? And I think that developing that from Dwight's point of view is going to be a lot more interesting than just showing up and tricking the viewers into thinking, oh man, maybe this guy's not really against Negan and maybe he just wants insight as to what their plan is, and, you know, stuff like that, and is just a spy, right? So seeing that develop, I think, would give Dwight a much bigger character arc, you know what I mean? I think that it would. And I really do like Dwight, you know what I mean? I don't really mind him too much. I mean, he's done things, yes. He's killed Denise, unfortunately, and he's done some other things as well, like kidnapping Glenn and Daryl and Rosita as well, of course, and Michonne, ultimately, and doing all those things and basically getting Glenn, you know, to his death. Didn't actually kill him or anything like that, but he threatened to kill Daryl there in episode 1. But again, this is all just for Negan, you know what I mean? This is all just for Negan. And he's just trying to prove his worth to Negan so that nothing else happens to him, because all he wants to do is survive. And I totally understand that, you know what I mean? I don't think a lot of people get that, you know, from his point of view. But I personally do, you know what I mean? He has to do what he has to do to survive. And I don't think he likes doing it, and that's what I think those looks are really about. Alright, so moving on to the sneak peek here, everybody, okay? Now, the sneak peek is much more deep than I really thought it was. I just watched it again, and it seems to me like something is really happening here in the sneak peek. Now, right off of the bat, we see Dwight basically eating a sandwich on a staircase, you know, sort of outside of the sanctuary building, you know, just eating his lunch, or I don't know, whatever he's doing. He's eating a wrap or, you know, something like that. Irrelevant, okay? Basically, he gets up to see 2 of those prisoners that are marked with the letters, basically bringing a walker outside of the walls to basically put him there and chain him up. You know, they're there to basically do that, to build the wall even stronger, right? That's what they're there for. So now we know a little bit more about their actual job there. And they basically take the bucket helmet or whatever they have on the walker. You know, it was sort of their safety device so that they wouldn't get bitten while putting the walker out there. They take that off and then they back up slowly. Okay, they just get out of there. Their job is done. They got a new walker in there and chained up. Okay, so the wall's more secure now. But what I thought was really interesting was what Dwight seen in one of the walkers that was piked. Okay, a big spike going right through the walkers. This is something I didn't catch the first time I watched the sneak peek, but I just caught it now. And you guys will be able to see the promo and the sneak peek. Link will be in the description below, okay? I thought this was a really deep moment for Dwight, and this is something that could be really a big realization for him, okay? Basically what happens is this walker is piked, okay? And he keeps on kneeling down, and he keeps on standing up. Kneeling down, standing up, kneeling down, standing up. That's all he can do. You know what I mean? There's nothing else he can do. He can't eat unless he's basically fed, you know, by giving somebody, by by maybe throwing somebody to the wall as a punishment, or, somebody assaulting the compound and ultimately giving him food. But other than that, all he's really doing is sitting there on a pike, trapped, and he's constantly kneeling down and then getting back up. Okay? Now, right off the bat, we don't really think that that's any significance. He's not purposely kneeling down, you know what I mean? He's just, that's all he can do. He gets up for like 2 milliseconds, he's still piked, and then he ultimately has to get back down to one knee. Again, he's not doing this really voluntarily, it's just his body movements, right? It's a walker. It doesn't have any feeling or anything like that. But all it's really doing is just struggling to get back up and then failing to get up completely and then kneeling back down to one knee. Thought this was a really big significance because this is sort of what Dwight's doing. As Negan walks by, he kneels down to one knee. That kneeling is a big significance and a big comparison to Dwight and that walker. And I think at that moment, Dwight sort of realizes that. And I think that this could be a really big turning point for Dwight. Again, we're going to have to watch the episode to see if that's actually how it plays out. That's sort of how I took it when I watched the sneak peek. It's a lot more in-depth there. I don't know really what it could mean. I think that it's exactly what it means. I think I'm maybe predicting it right. I don't even want to say maybe. I think that I am predicting it right. I'm really confident in it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? I have gotten some things wrong before, but I think that this is, probably Dwight's turning point. This is probably Dwight's breaking point, comparing himself kneeling down to Negan to this walker that is just outside of the walls, basically still serving Negan in a way of protecting that compound. That walker has no ability to not serve Negan. He's piked on the outside of his walls. He has no other option but to just keep struggling to get up and then kneeling down. Struggling to get up and then kneeling down. And right now, Dwight, I think, is in a position of kneeling down. Okay, we've seen him get up before, try to run away with his wife. Didn't obviously work out. He got the burn for a result of that, okay? But he is in the position of kneeling down now, and I don't think that he's done standing up yet, guys. I don't think that he's done. And I'm really excited for this week's up-and-coming episode of The Walking Dead, because it looks pretty cool, man. We get to see Savior's point of view and Dwight's point of view, and of course we get to see the cell, and obviously what Daryl is currently going through as well. So I think it's all going to be pretty interesting. We have Dwight actually wearing Daryl's vest as well, so the angel wings on the back are not being misused. You know what I mean? They're still being used by somebody wielding a crossbow, which I think is pretty cool. With that being said, I do like Dwight, okay? Don't get me wrong. I don't hate Daryl or anything like that. I love him. You know what I mean? I do. You can't not, right? I mean, really. But Dwight is such a cool character. I think that this episode is really all going to be about Dwight and realizing that he doesn't have to stay kneeled down, if that's the correct term. I'm not really sure. He doesn't have to stay like that. You know what I mean? He can stand up. He can fight this. That's exactly what I think he's going to do as well. And I'm really excited for it, guys. I'm so excited for the development of Dwight's character. I really am. And hopefully you guys will be tuning in as well. I was a big fan of the comic book for quite some time, everybody. So hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. Again, I don't hate any of the original characters or anything like that. I just get so excited anytime a new character from the comic book that I've grown to love in the comic book comes to life in the TV show. That being Dwight and Ezekiel and, of course, Negan now, you know what I mean? Although I love to hate him, you know what I mean? But with that being said, again, Dwight's character development, I think, is going to be a big thing for the show, and I can't wait to see more of it. And I hope that they don't really just pass it by nonchalantly. I hope that they focus more on it, you know what I mean? This episode gives me hope that they will do that, because it looks to me like it's basically all Dwight, Savior's compound, Negan maybe a little bit, maybe he just passes by in some shots and does some stuff, but I don't really think it's based completely around him. It's just based around him and his, situation, that's what I think. I think it's mostly based about the Savior's compound and how all the Saviors have to deal with Negan, that being Dwight. So thank you all so much for watching today's prediction videos. If you guys agree with me about Dwight or anything like that, make sure you let me know that in the comment section below. I'd definitely be interested to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on it. And tell me if you guys watched the sneak peek and actually think the exact same thing about Dwight staring at that walker, kneeling, and then getting back up. Because I think it has some pretty big significance to Dwight's character turn and Dwight standing back up ultimately. So that was episode predictions for season 7 episode. I almost said season 3, but it's definitely not right. Season 7 episode 3 entitled The Cell. and hopefully you guys will be tuning in this Sunday on AMC. I sure as hell will be. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm primarily a gaming channel. I do tons and tons of gaming videos every single day. Put tons of work into them. It would be great if you guys could check out some of my gaming videos as well, but if you're only here for my Walking Dead videos, then make sure you guys tune back in on Monday for my episode review of Season 7, Episode 3, entitled The Cell, and I will check you guys then. Take care, everybody. Bye. Welcome back to Destiny. Today, we are here back playing Festival of the Lost, and we are going to open some more Treasures of the Lost. Or one. I don't know. I did the quest on my Titan just today, and I got one more Festival of the Lost, like, treasure packet.